Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Fisher, AAD's Senior Vice President, here with Congressman Darren Soto. Thank you for speaking at today's leadership conference.
It's my pleasure, Daniel, and we appreciate all your members being here in Orlando. Thank you for choosing Central Florida, and I hear we're hosting you back soon, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, we love Central Florida, though the humidity we could kind of do without here. So.
Well, that's why you're coming in the wintertime next time.
That's right.
That'll solve that right there.
That's right. So talk a little bit about how you got into politics.
Sure. So, I started as a lawyer to help people, and actually it was through networking because I had a small business. I was a solo practitioner who worked under another lawyer, and he asked me to join different groups to meet people. So I joined the Young Democrats to network, and I started canvassing and knocking on doors for volunteering for other candidates. Then as a campaign manager, we ended up increasing the membership greatly among the Young Democrats through social events that I started hosting for the group. And soon we went from 25 members to 160. We won one House race that our friend ran, and we basically knocked on doors Saturdays and Sundays for about 6-7 months. And then there was a special election. I found myself in a race 4 months later, and the band got back together and we won it. And ever since then, policy is also really important to me. I'm a student of history. I care deeply about the law, and so all these come together for me to want to be a state legislator and then eventually, graduate to the big leagues here in the Congress.
Sure. Talk a little bit about the business community and how you interact, how important it is for business leaders to engage in Congress. There's a lot of, I think, pessimism and skepticism out there that they can't make a difference, that it's just fighting between Democrats and Republicans. But, we have a Washington fly-in October, and we obviously have a PAC, a political action committee. Could you talk a little bit about the importance of supporting the association's activities and the importance of letting your voice be heard for the business community?
Sure. From a Central Florida perspective, higher paying jobs is the biggest issue in the district. And who is going to help lift us to higher paying jobs? The business community working with policymakers and others. And so that's why I joined the Energy and Commerce Committee, because we regulate just about every Fortune 500 company in America. It was a great committee to build upon jobs. And there I see, obviously, every major business is advocating. And I see firsthand the importance. Look, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. That is not just an old adage. That is reality. It takes a constant maintenance. And look, our forefathers intended for change to be difficult. So when you're advocating for federal laws, everybody has to follow them afterwards. So obviously it's going to take a sustained effort to do so. But bottom line, as you work in a maintenance of effort of pushing for policy issues, you see big things happen, like this bipartisan infrastructure package. Look, that's going to create tens of millions of jobs. It's going to upgrade our roads and help fix the traffic, work on making our utilities more resilient, bringing rural broadband to areas of the nation that are falling behind. And your members are going to be renting equipment to the folks doing that and selling equipment. And so this advocacy is key to make sure this is seen through among many other issues. And sometimes it's an intangible or it's an indirect effect. Other times, like with the bipartisan infrastructure package, they're going to see a direct effect for the next 5 to 10 years, increased economic activity as our nation upgrades our infrastructure. And then even efficiencies in delivery of goods. When you're bringing major equipment down from like the Midwest, where a lot of it's constructed, the efficiency and improvement of those roads is key. So you're going to see on multiple levels, from distribution and logistics to actual new business, a policy that you all are advocating for, making a big difference. But you need to stay involved, and that means both on the fly-in days, that means talking with your state and local officials. The PAC side is also important. Sadly, these elections cost lots of money, and so showing your support for a candidate who you support their policies is also a very important aspect of this.
Absolutely. So you're kind of, I guess, on the cutting edge. You're a younger member of Congress, obviously. You're very involved in blockchain and crypto. How did you get involved with those issues?
So those are some of the tech issues I'm involved in. First, I work a lot in our tech clusters here. We have space flight and space, so I work a lot in that area. We have simulation training where we do virtual reality programs to train our troops in tanks and helicopters and the like. We have a medical city in the district where we're advancing cancer treatment and obesity treatments and things like that. And we're even making microchips here. But other things that I'm involved in that we're trying to bring more to the district, artificial intelligence and blockchain. So what is blockchain? It's been the butt of several Saturday Night Live jokes because it's so complex, but at its simplest form, think of an accounting ledger. You write something on this side, on that side to balance out your books. It's a fixed electronic ledger. So once you add something to it, you can never take it away. Why is that important? Because if we're going to do transactions on the internet, you can't have people erase them or commit fraud later on. So once we created blockchain technology, that allowed for internet transactions to be more trustworthy because you can't change them afterwards. So that platform allows for online currency to flourish where you can't just make up a bunch of it. You can't just erase a bunch of it. The biggest fear that everybody has about electronic currency. And by the way, we all have had electronic currency for a long time. Think about ATMs and how often you use your debit card or credit card. We're already using electronic currency, but this is another manner that's outside of the US dollar. It's important because this is going to be increasingly the type of currency utilized for international transactions. Not goods as much, but services. So let's say you're providing tourism consulting services from here in Orlando to someone in Dubai or someone in New Zealand. Now you could go through all the different currencies and get paid, and that has transaction costs and all the different things. Or you could get paid through cryptocurrency, and then there's no transaction costs. It's two people on the same network. You could also, a lot of small businesses that do consulting or other services will benefit. And then remittances. We have many folks who are from immigrant communities or first or second generation, and they send remittances back to other family throughout the world. That'll be much more cost effective. For you all, there may be certain transactions among small businesses if you're shipping certain equipment to other areas across the world, especially if the currency rates are way different, where it may actually be more efficient to use cryptocurrency. We don't want Russia and China to take over this type of technology. Our economic rivals who don't believe in freedom and democracy like we do. So it's really important for the United States to stay on the cutting edge of what right now by 2025 may be up to 10% of all international transactions. Think about that. So really important for us to be involved in this and other issues like artificial intelligence, which is going to help out with logistics for your industry, huge over the next few years as the supercomputers will be able to determine the most efficient ways to ship goods, maybe even the most efficient ways to help design them. So technology is important. We have kept our preeminence in the United States by advancing science and technology, and so very important for me to stay involved in these issues, both for our tech clusters here and for the nation as a whole.
So you touched kind of on the bipartisan infrastructure package. Now let's kind of take the infrastructure out and talk about bipartisanship.
Sure.
The public sees the fighting going on cable news. Everything seems so far left, so far right. You remember the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is evenly split between Democrats and Republicans working together to solve the big issues in a bipartisan manner. You remember the New Democratic Coalition, which is a group of more centrist Democrats looking to work across the aisle and solve some of these big issues. So is it as bad as you read in the news? Do you have friends on the other side of the aisle? Do you guys talk? Is it just fighting?
So first, 90% of the bills that pass out of the House are unanimous, just to give you an idea. They're very important, but not necessarily headline-grabbing issues that are the business of the American people. Everything from making sure you can have secure transactions to making sure that we're reauthorizing highways to making sure we're reauthorizing the Small Business Administration or this Department of Commerce, a bunch of the day-to-day activities. In addition, we every year pass appropriations packages that generally have bipartisan support. We pass a National Defense Authorization Act, our policy for the military, that passes with bipartisan support. In any of those bills, you're going to have the extremes on the right or left that vote no. But there is a solid 2/3 of the Congress on both sides of the aisle, that's the more functional members, right? That are voting yes after getting to the best deal possible because the nation needs us to get things done. I have many friends across the aisle, not only in the Problem Solvers Caucus, but I was a state legislator, so I know most of the Republicans in Florida really well, and I've socialized with them, continue to socialize with them. When you go on congressional delegation trips to different war zones and to different allies, you're going with Democrats and Republicans. So just recently I was in Korea, not only to go to the DMZ to visit our troops there, but also to work on, we're doing increasing amounts of microchip manufacturing in the district. There's a chip shortage across the nation. That's half Democrats, half Republicans going abroad. And we break bread, our spouses socialize. We're pretty much working the whole time there. So I'd call it more work with a little bit of socializing, but those relationships go on. My first thought on all this as far as why you see the partisanship, if you tune out cable news and Twitter, you'll probably feel a lot better about our nation's democracy. But look, we're a diverse nation with a lot of opinions. Some of the most controversial usually get the most clicks, get the most attention. But the truth is, the vast majority of the bills that are passing are bipartisan bills that are important, that need to get done. And it's okay that 10% of the bills are some of the most controversial, biggest issues of our time. We should rigorously debate those. We had them 200 years ago. We have them now. We're going to have them 200 years from now. So it's okay that there's debate. My basic rule is to still show respect. No name calling. Don't question people's motives. But you can be tough on policy debates because my folks, for instance, climate change is a huge issue, right? We have a low-lying state. We want to make sure we're boosting renewables and things like that. And so that's a big issue for our area. But I don't criticize personally anybody on that issue, right? It's we have to work together on these things. So whether it's the 90-something% of the issues that we're working in bipartisan fashion that you may not see every day, including many of the issues that you all are working on, or whether it's the 10% that are the greatest debates of our day that get a lot of the attention. That is the way the Congress has been and always will be. We just need to tune out some of the noise sometimes, and I think we'd all feel better about the state of our nation.
I agree. I had to kind of limit myself on Twitter a bit. I found myself scrolling through a lot and it was depressing me, but I think taking a break from the cable news and the Twitter certainly is a good idea. Speaking of one of those big issues, last question here, immigration. So AD, a couple of years ago, adopted an immigration policy recognizing that, of course, we need workers. Sure. That it really is an economic issue. And of course, strong border security. Will the issue ever get solved? It seems to be, even when, back when George W. Bush was president, we came close to having a comprehensive immigration bill. Is there any hope in the next few years to solving what I think is one of the country's biggest issues? So the reality is both border security and immigration are policies that need to be maintained. They'll never fully be solved because it's an ongoing world. Remember that the challenges keep going on. We don't just solve it. So in 1985, then Republican President Ronald Reagan joined with Democratic Speaker Tip O'Neill to do an immigration reform that was really the last big generational immigration reform. Border security, we don't just solve it and it stops. It takes a maintenance of effort from technology to having enough officers down there, to treating people humanely, to working at the root causes of it, like Central America, where the vast majority of folks trying to cross our border unlawfully are from Central America. There's a lot of corruption down there. They're narco states. They got hurricanes that hit them, so there's been famine, and you have gangs down there. So foreign policy help down there helps. For things like dreamers, folks who've known no other country other than here, where we have 100,000 plus dreamers in Florida. So a large group of folks. Temporary protective status, folks who have been here 5, 10, 20 years that can't go back to their home nation. They've made a home here. For farm workers who are part of putting our food on the table, especially during the pandemic, we see how critical they are, and essential workers generally, who help deliver goods to our doorsteps while many folks work from home. These are folks who are integral to our economy, and you'll see in the reconciliation package an effort
to grapple with this issue and give them access to becoming residents and a pathway to citizenship. Some of it gets into technical arguments about parliamentary procedure, which I will leave you to explain to everybody, but there's a decent chance it'll get included in. That'll help resolve it for this generation, but every generation will have to grapple with this issue again because life keeps going on. And you'll keep needing to maintain your efforts to make sure we have a sufficient labor force, which is why it's important to stay active, like we were saying before, because you need to continue to advocate every year, year in, year out, because challenges will emerge and be solved, new challenges will happen, old challenges will come back, and that's why you want to make sure you're going to the fly-ins. You want to make sure that you're coming to the conventions. And it doesn't stop with the federal. You want to engage your local officials as small business owners. You want to engage your state government because a lot of the laws dealing with commerce also are state-level laws in addition to the Congress. And I encourage all of our equipment distributors to stay active, to work with the association, engage your officials, contribute to the PAC, and do the things that need to be done. This is your First Amendment rights. This is about American democracy and your voice being heard.
Well, thank you so much, Congressman. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for your public service and your dedication to, to government and public service. Not everyone, obviously, you probably can make a lot more money being a lawyer, but you've chosen this path to help people, and we appreciate that. So
it's my honor, and thanks for having me.